I'm Jen from the Chronicles of Home, and today I'm going to show you how to do one of the simplest upholstery jobs out there, and that is recovering dining room chairs. It's a great project for beginners. You don't really need any special tools. There's no sewing involved for most chairs, and the technique is really simple too. So I'm going to show you how to do mine, which I'm in the process of recovering now. And usually you can apply that process to just about any dining room chair that you have. So the first thing I did with my fabric was I cut it into a square that you can see is a bit larger on each side than the size of my seat cushion, because I need a little extra to pull it around and staple it onto the back. And we'll be trimming excess fabric as we go. So I have decided to line this sort of medallion on the fabric, line it up right in the middle as much as I can, and I'm just eyeballing it. So the first thing I do when I'm pattern matching is just sort of eyeball it from the front. Tuck it down around the sides with your hands until it looks like it's pretty well centered. And then once I have that, I sort of hold it in place and flip it over, and I'm just going to check it from the back too. And I'm just looking side to side here to see if it's the pattern is falling in the same place on either side. And once I see that I have it pretty even, I'm going to take my staple gun and I'm going to tack a staple right in the middle here. This is the back of my seat. And then I'm going to do the same with the front. Give it a little tug to make sure that the fabric is snug. And then this actually looks like it needs to be moved a little to one side. You'll find with upholstery work like this, or any upholstery work, it's a lot of just small manipulations. It's keeping things smooth and pulled tight. That's how you get the most professional look. And now I'm going to add a staple. Now that I have the fabric where I want it, I'm going to add a staple in the middle of the front of the chair. And that will hold the pattern pretty much in place where I want it to go. So for a dining room chair, this is the front of my seat and this is the back. I usually start working on the front. And the thing that you need to remember when you're doing seat covers like this is the fabric is going to wind up looking very bunchy around the back here. It doesn't matter. That's facing down, that's covered by the frame of your chair. What you need to be aware of is how it looks here along the side, because that's what's going to be visible, and you want that to look as smooth as possible. So I'm going to get started here in this front corner. And there's not really a science to this. You're just sort of playing with it and pleating it and holding it in place until you get the look that you want. And you can see here, I've just kind of folded a little pleat over, but from the side here, it's not visible. It doesn't look pleated. Actually, I'm going to start at the corner here. Pull that up. And I'm going to trim the excess of this corner off because I don't need all that extra fabric. And you'll see we're going to trim off even more than that as we go along. So I think I'll actually start making some folds here at the corner. And I'm trying to get my folds so they're as invisible as possible from the front of the chair. I might do another one here. And it's not a big deal if there's a few little pleats showing. Upholstery has lots of pleats in it. That's how you get the fabric to go over whatever you're covering. But you just want to do what you can to make it as invisible as you can. So I have a bunch of pleats here, and I'm just going to put some staples in over them to hold that fabric in place. So you can see now I have in this corner a few pieces stapled down. And I'm going to go around to the front now. And I don't have a whole lot of extra fabric here to work with, so I don't know how much more pleating I'm going to have to do. I usually kind of pull it like this and smooth it with my hand. And what that does is holds it smooth across here, but it sort of self-bunches itself there. Remember, that really doesn't matter. And then I just staple along until it's all tacked in place. And you can see that that's going to look pretty smooth when it's actually on the chair. So I'm going to go around now to my other corner, do the same thing. Okay, so once I did both sides, you'll see that it is looking pretty smooth from the front, and this is all kind of ruffled and bunched up here, but you don't have to worry about that. I'm going to go ahead and trim a little a little bit more fabric still. I want to make sure that the holes that I have here that the bolts go into to reattach the seat cushion to the frame, that they are not covered up by fabric, or else my screws or bolts, whatever you have, won't properly go back into the seat and attach it to the frame. So just go along and trim excess fabric off. Make sure that those holes are exposed. So the front of the chair is done, and now I'm going to go along and work on one of the sides. So this is the front, this is the back, these are the two sides. And it's the same process here. I'm going to do a little bit more folding, especially around the corners. You tend to have to do a lot of that around the corners. You probably see what I mean here. There's not science to it. Every chair, even every seat that I did for these, this is the last one I'm doing, was slightly different. Because, you know, you pull the fabric a little bit different each time. You just play with it until it looks right. And when you think you have things pretty smooth and the way you want them, you put a few more staples in. Don't be afraid to add a lot of staples if you need to. That's what sort of helps keep it really smooth. All right, I'm going to go into this back corner now that I have probably about half of the side stapled down here. I'm gonna take a look at this back corner. I'm actually going to put another staple here about halfway between that middle one that I tacked down and the corner. And the back of a chair is usually very covered by the frame. So you just want to take a look and see that. It doesn't matter quite as much if you've got a few pleats showing right around the base of the back, because it's going to be completely concealed by the seat frame. But just make sure you check your chair before you assume that that's the case. So I'm going to pull, I kind of have a few little pleats tucked down here, and then I'm tucking this fabric and I'm pulling it pretty tight up and over. And so you can see that right now, put a staple in there. Right now, this fold that I made looks really visible, but once I put it onto my chair frame, the back of the frame is going to completely cover this up. So just pay attention to the way that your frame is made. And now I just need a few more staples. I'm going to kind of do what I did to finish up the front and just smooth my hand over this so it's smooth along the side, and any little folds and pleats happen up farther along the bottom where it's not going to be seen. And I've got this side all the way done now, so I'm going to go ahead and trim the extra fabric off of this side too, to make sure that that hole to attach it to the frame is not covered. And also it just makes it easier to reattach in general if there's not all this extra bulky fabric kind of bunched up under there. Okay, so once that side is done, you're going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. So once you have finished stapling all of your fabric into place, you're ready to reattach your seat to your chair frame, and you just do what you did to remove the seat in reverse. Put the screws or the bolts back in the exact same way that you removed them, and then you flip your chair back over and you are done. So for a whole dining room worth of chairs, this is a really doable project for just, you know, a weekend afternoon. And I love the way it can completely transform the look of a whole room, especially in my case where I went from something so plain to something with really a lot of personality. And I love that sort of a more contemporary color palette and pattern here updates the look of my very traditional style chairs, which I love, but I kind of wanted to give a little bit more of a contemporary feel. So I hope this helps you if you're looking to try this yourself. And if you have any questions, leave me a comment on my blog post about this, or you can send me an email at jen@thechroniclesofhome.com. Thanks for stopping by. See you again soon. Bye.